Hey everyone, it's Michael GoosebumpsFan. Today I'm going to be doing another Thing Like Goosebumps book review for you. Of course, this is an R.L. Stine book. I read last Halloween, not Halloween on the dot, but last October I talked about the first book of this duology. I don't think there's a third book. It's called Halloween Night. This one is Halloween Night 2, and by the way, I love these Halloween Night covers. The first one had a jack-o'-lantern with a knife in it, kind of like a rip-off of Halloween a little bit. But this one has some skeletons, some spooky, scary skeletons. Of course, this is I think it's called Point Horror, I believe, is what this series is part of. I believe it's a Point Horror book, I think. It might just be a regular R.L. Stine young adult book. But anyway, these are young adult books, kind of like Fear Street. And I think they came out before Fear Street was released or created or whatever. I have not read much Fear Street. I think I've read some Ghost of Fear Street books. I don't think I've read any actual Fear Street books or Super Chillers or whatever they're called. I want to, I just don't have the time to. Plus, I'm working on Goosebumps right now. Maybe if I get around to doing my other channel someday, once I figure out finishing up this channel at some point, maybe I'll start making videos on that channel, doing movie reviews and all that I already do on Strange Michael, in case you want to check that out. Halloween Night 2. I have mixed feelings on this. I like it a lot, I really do. The problem is that it's basically an entire rehashing with a new twist of the first book. Now, I like the first book. I know there's certain people like Spongy that I talked about in the last, one of my last videos, I talked about Halloween Night 2. My friend Spongy commented down below talking about how, you know, he hated Halloween Night. He just read it and reviewed it and everything. And I don't hate it. I think if you like R.L. Stine and like kind of his very simple way of telling stories, kind of bland characters, sort of, kind of, but still enjoyable characters, kind of a Goosebumpsy for young adults type of thing, that's what this sort of is. Characters can die in these books, whether it be Fear Street or whether it be something like this. It can happen. And it's fine. I like it. I think for the most part it's a pretty solid read. It's just kind of a problem mainly with the characters, because they kind of all took a kind of a reversal. You know, in the first book, a lot of problems would happen amongst characters, mainly with the main character, Brenda, and her cousin, Haley. And they would kind of hate each other's guts. Haley would steal her boyfriend and whatnot and do it deliberately. The excuse would be, oh, well, it's because she doesn't have her own family. She wants to be like Brenda and have everything Brenda has because she's jealous of Brenda, because she wants the life Brenda has. This book is literally word for word almost the same exact thing. Almost the same exact thing. It's the same characters from the first book, which is not very common with R.L. Stine books, but it is. It's kind of the same characters from the first book. Brenda, the main character from the first book that survived, that was supposed to be stabbed. This is another thing, too. It's hard to talk about this book without spoiling the first book's ending, because the first book is kind of resounding around this idea of killing Haley, the cousin. And then there's a change, and then another character tries to kill our main character at one point. So there's this whole thing going on here that had kind of almost a repeat of every action that happened in the first book. So if I sound like I'm getting into spoiler territory, I'm going to try my best not to. I'm going to try my best not to talk about the ending of the first book and who was the actual killer at the end of the first book. I'm not going to try to ruin that for you, because I want you to be able to enjoy this if you want the time to do it. Anyway, Halloween Night 2, main character and her friends are filming a horror film, and they scare the little brother while doing this. And the little brother's kind of fun. I could see, I think it's Jonathan Taylor Thomas, I believe is his name, the kid from Home Improvement that played Randy, the kind of mischievous kid. Not the older brother, Brad, but the younger middle brother. So, this book was fun. It was fun to read. I had a good time. The weirdest, crazy thing that happened here, that is the most unbelievable thing after the events of the first book, is that a character who was the killer in the first book, at the end of the first book, again, I'm not going to spoil it for you, that person just gets to come back to school, to town, whatever. They're not locked in an asylum the rest of their life, even though this is the 90s or whatever when this was released. They shouldn't be able to come back to school, regular school at least, because this person tried to kill people. It was proven. She admitted to it. So why is she able to just come back? I don't know. So this person comes back, and everybody immediately is just freaked out, because she shows up in the house and she picked up a knife that they had dropped in the middle of their little horror film filming thing that they were doing to scare the younger brother. And they're like, why are you in our house? You know, person. And so she kind of gets sad because they don't want to be friends with her anymore. The main character especially is like, look, get out of my house. I don't want anything to do with you. Never again. We're not friends. Blah, blah, blah. So the main character kind of kicks that person out of the house. Not like shoves her or anything, but the new person that came back runs out of the house and is like, you'll be sorry, you'll all be sorry, that kind of thing. Well, now her and her cousin Haley, who made amends in the last book, by the end of the last book, because they realized what had happened with them, they realized they were more like sisters than they realized. I think this book is flawed because it throws them back to already being in the same place they were at the beginning of the last book. They hate each other's guts. They're mad at each other all the time. She wants to basically, the main character wants to scare her current boyfriend that Haley is stealing from her again, kind of like with another boyfriend in the previous book. She wants to scare him to death because of how he talks to her. Like, he's such a sleazeball, too. I hate this guy's guts. He'll talk to the main character after he's cheating on her and been caught cheating on her with the cousin, and he'll say something like, oh, well, you know what, girl? You're still pretty. I still like you. We can still go on a date in the future if you want to. You know, that kind of thing. That's how he comes across, such a douchebag. So they're kind of like in this mindset, we're going to scare him so bad. We're going to scare him to death this time around. Maybe even kill him. They're kind of doing the same stuff they did in the first book. Like I said, it's almost to the very T, the same note for note, twist for twist as the first book. And that's a shame, because Stein's better than that. And I feel like it's kind of the same problem we have with Goosebumps sometimes when he puts that together, or even back in the older days with Goosebumps. Sometimes it's a repeat. When you have like Haunted Mask 2, how do you end that differently from the first book is what Stein looks at these. And that's what he does. He'll do the same story for the most part, and then do a couple little, just little tiny twists that make it a little bit different. And then the ending is very different, either in a good or a bad way. And that's a problem. That's the problem with R.L. Stein. I love him to death, my favorite writer of all time, but that's the issue with this man. But overall, Halloween Night 2 was not a complete loss. I think if you're the younger audience, like a 20-something, or like a 12 or 13 or 14 or 15-something, you could like this. There's no language in here, not really any kind of gore. There is a couple of horrific moments that were pretty horrific. Not like a murder thing, but just a little bit of gore. Just a little bit. I think everyone could really enjoy this, but it's not going to be everybody's cup of tea because of how it's a repeat of the first book. I would recommend reading the first book before you read this. That's what I would say straightforward. I enjoyed it. It was fun to read. R.L. Stein has such a good way of writing books. He has like a very easy to read, easy to enjoy flow. A very good execution of how he tells stories, and I like that. But overall, when it comes to Halloween Night 2 by R.L. Stein, if I had to rate this thing like Goosebumps book, I'd probably give it about a 3 out of 5 stars. It was kind of sad to see it do note for note repeating, but first book's definitely better, for sure. For sure, there's no contest there. I think most readers who enjoy both of these books could say the same thing. I'm curious, I feel like Fear Street books would all be the same thing over and over again. Except for like different settings, like, oh, we're doing the Halloween time, we're doing the summertime, you know, beach party. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but they all seem to me like they'd be the same thing, just with different twists on who a killer would be. But I still want to read them. I still want to read them because I love R.L. Stein. I don't care. I'll read anything the man puts out. He could, you know, write a note and put it out. I'd read it, you know. Anyway, when it comes to Halloween Night 2, like I said, 3 out of 5 stars for me. I enjoy it. I kind of recommend it if you like the first book a lot. Just be prepared. You're not going to be super excited about how this went. Anyway, thank you for watching, guys. Put your thoughts and comments down below. I would love to hear what you have to say about this crazy, crazy little repeat of a book. Again, why is that character back? Why? How? Anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below. Thank you for watching, guys. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.